Hi there! Today we are going to swatch the Pure Pigment set from Mijello Mission Gold. So I had bought these a while ago, and you probably remember them from my watercolor haul. I haven't had time to swatch them, so I'm actually getting through all my swatches. But I thought it would be fun to do this one first because I've been itching to swatch these. So I'm going to do a little unboxing and then swatching and all that in one, so this will be a little longer. I'll try to speed up where I can. But when you open it up, you get this little pamphlet, and it's pretty cool because this is a pure pigment set. I shouldn't say not a lot, because there's quite a few brands that do pure pigments, but it's just nice that this entire set of 34 colors is all pure pigment. And then they kind of go through their 5 standards, so they always use the finest quality pigments, superior light fastness, color uniformity, exceptional solvency, we'll find out today, non-toxic and non-chemical additives, always a good one, cadmium-free, and cosmetic-grade preservatives. So that goes for all of their colors, not just the 34 that are in this set, so you won't have like a cadmium yellow or anything like that. And then when you open this up, it has their watercolor chart. Now this is for all 48 colors you can get in the pure pigment. I purchased the 34 count set, so a few of these I won't have, but I'm going to save this because I may want to buy some of these that aren't in my set later and kind of see what they're like. But I want to kind of see how this set works on its own before doing so. So yeah, it'll, do the usual. It tells you the light fastness. Now, all of them, I believe, are extremely light fast. Oh wait, cobalt turquoise hue is not. Impression blue, which is not in my 34 count set. Oh, I was so sad when I was writing these down. But yeah, so that is their pamphlet. Then you have like this little thing here, and then you have the paints. I'm gonna probably keep them in this. Now, by that I mean the tubes. The paints themselves are gonna go into this bad boy I bought in a different haul. Originally, I was gonna use this for a full palette, studio palette, but it is too big. Look, it's as big as this box. It's actually bigger. So, but it actually has 34 wells, so it's like almost made for this set. This is their bulletproof glass palette. Now, I want to make something very clear. It's not actually glass. It's bulletproof glass. So, don't let that mislead you. It's actually a very nice palette. Huge mixing wells. I mean, look at the spaces for your paint. Look at all these wells. I mean, hello. So we got one sectioned off here, a big one in the center, another sectioned off, and then this whole one here is open. Oop, with some crumblies in there. And then, yeah, even the corner wells, which are normally where you kind of get shafted on real estate, are nice and big. So I think I'm just going to use this, the Mijello palette, for the Mijello paints. So I'll show you a tube real fast, and then we will get to filling the palette, which I think I'll speed up that part. Okay, so they're all nestled in here nice and neat. You could shake this thing around, they're not going anywhere. They are gold little tubes. Come on, camera. Doesn't want to zoom in. It does have their code on there. I don't really pay attention to that much. Oh, they do have their series, by the way, and that kind of goes from most expensive to least expensive. A being the most expensive, I believe, is how they rate them. Let me double check so I don't get anyone in the comments. Yeah, price group. But so you have the label, everything you need is on the label, and these are 15 ml tubes, by the way. So you're getting a ton of paint, because for comparison, like I bought a Schminke and Daniel Smith 5 ml tube. Those are 5 ml, 15 ml. Woo! So you get a lot of paint for your money here, which was kind of surprising because these are pure pigment as well. They are made in Korea. They do go by AP standards, which are always nice to see. Very transparent with their light fast testing. By the way, you can go on their website and see all of it. And then it tells you everything from the name to their color code to the light fast to the pigment. So everything is on here. You can buy these open stock as well. You don't have to buy them in a set. So if I run out of one of these tubes, I can go buy the tube. I don't have to buy a set. So these are artist grade paints. I know not everyone has heard of Mijello. I've actually had a few people ask me if it was a budget brand. This is not a budget brand. But yeah, so let's fill the palette. So I think what I'll do is, for the sake of your sanity and time, I will speed up the portion of me filling up this palette. I think the direction I'm going to go is just in the direction they came. I can always change it out later. Yes, you can change these out. It's really not that big of a deal. You just scrape them out with a palette knife once they're dry. But I'm going to try it in just the order they came, because looking at it, this order is pretty much how I would do it anyway. So, actually, no, I would prefer rainbow order, but I am too lazy. So, we're just going to start at the top and work our way through. I had thought about leaving the white out. I'll put the white in for now, but I may replace it with another color because, like I said, they have 48 in their pure pigment. All right, let's get squeezing tubes. Okay, so they are all in my tray. Now I am going to be swatching them fresh, so that's something to keep in mind as opposed to once these dry. So when you do put them in the palette, you want to leave it open and let it dry, but what you want to do to prevent any contaminants, such as in my life, husky hair, put like a flat piece of paper over the wells to protect it while it air dries overnight. But for swatching, I'm going to just swatch them straight, so the color will be a little bit more concentrated than it would once they dry. A few had separated, so I had to mix them. You can just take a toothpick or what, back of your brush, I don't know, whatever you want to use. I used a toothpick and mixed them. I gotta say, there's nothing worse than the color of that coming out in that same consistency. Just for joke's sake. But yeah, most of them came out pretty well. I did notice a few of these blues were really stiff in the tube. So that was one thing I did notice. One of them felt like it was starting to get a little hard, but it's not a big deal. Even if it was hardened in the tube, you can still use it. It's just more of a pain because you got to cut it out. All right, so I have my swatch chart ready to go. This is just my Etcher cold press I can't remember the size, but it's a smaller one. I used, as always, the stamps from Erite here, and then messed up one there, and squeezed them ever so gently all onto this so that I could just open it up and have my whole set here. So I am going to move this palette off to the side. Maybe trying to find a way to fit this all on camera. I'm going to be swatching today with my number 12 Silver Black Velvet, which is going to fit really nicely in these super beefy wells, which is what I like. I got my rag. All right, so let me get you guys at a slightly better angle. Okay. We needed to make room for the camera. So I'm not speeding up the portion here where I am going to be swatching with you guys because I kind of wanted to talk about it. Might need to get my brush a little more wet. The white is pretty thick. Right out the tube. Okay. Again, just remember these are straight out of the tube. They're going to be a little more concentrated. Alright, so that is white. It's actually Chinese white. Now we got our Quinn Yellow Light. Make sure I'm on camera. I'm using my little paint pot cup. Got a little too much water on my brush that time. Okay, now we are on to Permanent Yellow Light. Let's see. Ooh, that is bright. It's not light, it's bright. All right. Now we're on. Excuse me. Let me cough in your ear. I'm getting over COVID, so FYI. Permanent Yellow Deep, which is PY65. Probably help if I told you the pigment name. These are a pure pigment set after all. There will be some repeating pigments, but for those unfamiliar, you can still have the same pigment in 2 different colors. It's all about how much of that pigment is in there. All right, so we are on Autumn Orange, which is PO36. Ooh, I like that. I like that one a lot. Let me zoom you guys in, actually. Okay. Now we are on to Red Orange, which is PO73. Feeling this is going to be pretty bright. Just looking at it out of the tube. Okay, now we're on to Quinn Red, PR207. Oh, I love me my Quins. Now I am swatching wet to dry. And if you're curious why I'm going wet to dry, that's how I typically paint. Now, if you want to do like complicated swatch cards and all that, you can, you know, where you test them wet on wet, mass tone, even sprinkle some salt, those cards. You can do that. This is Permanent Red Deep, by the way, PR254. However, I suggest swatching your colors in the way you're going to use them. While I do some wet on wet, most of my paintings are wet on dry, therefore I swatch wet on dry. Okay, Rose Madder, PR176. Just making sure I'm not going on the wrong well. Oh yeah, that color is luscious. Wow, I like that color. That's probably going to find its way into my fall palette. All right, now we are on to Quin Permanent Rose. I did abbreviate on some, but ooh, and this is PV19. Oh, look at that pink. Oh, that's luscious. My gosh, my water right now is the color of carrot juice. Burgundy red, PR 177. This one was a little stiffer coming out of the tube. Not a bad thing, by the way. It's just, oh my gosh, that color is gorgeous. Wow, look at that color. I like that one. And I'm normally partial to the Quins, but all right, Quinacridone Permanent Magenta, PR 122. Sorry, I was getting it on my brush, and this color is so pretty. Oh my gosh, that is a Quinacridone Magenta. Yes, it is. Oh gosh, that is gorgeous. All right. Crimson Lake, PR 202. This one looks really pretty as well. Oh my gosh, this palette is like just screaming autumn. I've heard a lot of complaints about how bright they are. I really am not having that issue or seeing that issue. Quinacridone Violet. I mean, yeah, these colors are very vibrant, but I mean, you can water them down. Quinacridone Violet. Oh my gosh. I've never met a quinacridone I don't like, so I'm a little biased. Okay, Ultramarine Violet number 2. This one's starting to dry already. Let's just get it back there. Oh wow, that is luscious too. I think that one's gonna granulate. Dioxazine Violet, a color I love in most brands. PV23. Oh, this is gonna be, yeah. Oh yeah. That is a very pretty purple. It's really dark right now, I know, but give her a moment. All right, Indian Throne Blue, because words are hard. PB60. Oh my gosh, this palette is so huge, and it's off to my right. I'm trying to fit my elbow in here. Oh, that's a beautiful blue. All right, okay, now we're on to Ultramarine Light, which is PB29. I need to change out my water here soon. And no, I am not trying to stay in the lines. I purposely go out of the box because that helps me check the transparency. I am using a pigment ink, by the way, so it won't move along. Okay, Cobalt Blue number 2. This is PB28. So yeah, I use a pigment ink for the stamp and the writing. Always do that. You could always use a Sharpie too. Oops. Sorry, camera autofocused. Don't autofocus. We want to see the color. Oh, that's lovely. Okay, Cobalt Cerulean Blue, PB33. This one's already starting to stiffen up. This was one that was really hard to get out of the tube. Oh, that's pretty. I like that one a lot. I really do. Okay. All right, Cerulean Blue, PB153. Oh, this is gonna be pretty. Like I said, I was really bummed I didn't have the Prussian blue in this set when I opened that pamphlet. Ooh, that's lovely. But maybe I'll be okay. I just love Prussian blue. It's a color I use a lot in other brands. All right, Halo Blue, PB156. A lot of blues in this set, actually. Lots of blues. Ooh, that one's gorgeous. It's so smooth. Okay. So now we are on to Cobalt Cerulean Deep, which is PB36. This will probably be more opaque. It's a gorgeous color though. Reacts really well on this etcher paper, which is 100% cold pressed cotton. Cobalt Green Deep, PB36. This is one I had to mix because it kind of separated. I'm liking the wells on this palette though. I'll do a separate review on the palette itself. It's not too bad. I was kind of curious about this because I felt like there wasn't a lot of greens. Now, granted, there's not a lot of greens naturally anyways because this is a pure pigment set. Greens are usually mixed, so you got to keep that in mind. Or mixes, I should say. Cobalt Green Turquoise, PB28. We do have some greens in here. I'm curious how green they are. But yeah, most greens are mixes. Most of the good greens, I should say. Viridian. Now this is PG7, so we're getting to one of the greens. But this is going to be a very bright green that you can easily neutralize though with pretty much the colors you've been provided in the palette, and of course you can mix. It's one nice thing about having a pure pigment palette. You can create your own mixes. I mean, gosh, you already got 34 colors, but yeah, let's make more. All right, Bamboo Green, which is PG36. So this is the other green. I was kind of curious what this was going to be though, because the name just sounds lovely. Let's try to... Ooh, I like that one. It is bright, but you can water it down and you can neutralize it. Okay, green gold. Very excited for green gold. It's an underrated color. PY 150 is what we got going on here. Oh, that's luscious. That would mix really nice with Bamboo Green. Okay. Yellow Ochre number 2, which is PY 42. Might have a little too much on my brush. We're gonna find out. It's the hard thing about swatching fresh from the tube. Okay, Gold Ochre, PY 42. This is the one that did not come out of the tube in a pleasing way. Okay, just wet that a little. That's not a bad color though. That would mix pretty well too. Kind of reminds me of, I can't think of it right now. Shoot, the name's not coming to me, so that was a wasted thought. There's a color out there. Burnt Sienna number 2, which is PR 102. Love that we got some browns. All right. That's a pretty one, actually. I mean, brown is easy to make yourself. You can make it by accident, make it on purpose. But still, I'm all about not having to mix. Now we have red brown, PBR 25. So yeah, if I don't have to make a color, I'm a happy gal. I'm gonna have to make some greens with this set though. Oh my gosh, look at that color. The red really shines through that red brown, but it's like, it's awesome. VanDyke brown. I always joke it's named after me because that's my last name. And yes, I know it's not named after me. PBR 7. I've had a comment before that it was not named after me. It's like, I know. So I just like to throw out that little disclaimer now. All right, cobalt black. I'm kind of curious if this is going to be more opaque. So this is PBK 27, common pigment for black. It's actually not too bad. That would water down pretty well, actually. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, because right now these swatches are wet, watercolor is always brighter when it's wet. It's always more opaque looking as well. So I'm going to dry with my little dryer, and I'm gonna turn off the camera, and then we'll come back and kind of take a look-see at the dried swatches. So I will return in a second. Okay, so these are now dry, I think. There's a few spots where they're just a little teasing me, but I wanted to show you. Okay, so now that they've dried, I can kind of see why some people complain that the Pure Pigment set is too bright. However, it's not too bright for me. In fact, I actually find it kind of more autumnal in a way. So maybe that's just me. We all see color differently though, and you know, we all have our preferences. Now, I do feel like these are pretty bright, but hey, I mean, I'm not playing with cadmium, so and I still got some good yellows. I've got a nice cool yellow, warm yellow. I actually really like this autumn orange. Like, I'm in love with it. I am absolutely in love with this Crimson Lake, this quinacridone permanent magenta. Oh my gosh, even this Quin Rose over here. You know what? I like them all. So on this side here, this Quin Violet is, oh my gosh, so luscious. Now, I know they look kind of similar on camera probably, but they're really not, like these two here. This has definitely got more of a reddish vibe, obviously, because it's PR202. This definitely has more of the violet going on, but let's talk about purples. Considering this is a Pure Pigment set, these two purples are really nice. Now, this Ultramarine Violet number 2 is going to be a lot more opaque. The Dioxazine Violet is actually going to be a lot more transparent. It just doesn't look that way on here, but that's because I swatch wet to dry and from the tube. Got to keep that in mind. The blue selection is pretty heavy, but they do give you kind of a mixture of transparent and opaque blues. So I think that's why they did that in this set. But I mean, also, I don't know. I wish I would have gotten some of their others. So looking at this here of the 48 total colors, I almost would have rather had maybe a couple of these other colors in here. I really wish I would have gotten the Korilynn Maroon, but you know, oh well. And then possibly some of these other browns instead of so many blues. And I don't know, I really would have liked to see their Prussian blue, but I can always buy the tube of it. So yeah, in down through blue, can never say that word, try my best. It's a really pretty blue. The phthalo blue is awesome, very gorgeous. I like it. This cerulean blue is just screaming landscape. Now all these cobalts are going to be a lot more opaque. Cobalt is traditionally an opaque color. We have a lot of cobalt in here. The cobalt blue number 2 is not too shabby, but yeah, I'm seeing, like, I have a light blue that's going to be transparent, or one that I can make light, I should say. And then a lot of these are going to be a little more opaque, but that's fine. The greens that they included, I really like this bamboo green. It is bright, but we can neutralize this bamboo green with another color, so it's really not that bad. You can see it here, more mass tone versus, you know, as it watered down, but it's actually a really nice color. The Viridian is exactly what I would expect Viridian to be at PG7, so I wasn't really shocked that it kind of has that, you know, bluish undertone to it. The green gold is a really nice, pretty color. It's just screaming, make a sunflower. The yellow ochre is pretty opaque, and looking at yeah, looking at this yellow ochre number 2, yep, as opaque as it can be. So it is an opaque color. The gold ochre, however, is pretty nice. I really like this gold ochre right here. So this is a pretty color, and it'll be really nice and transparent. The 2 browns are lovely. This red brown is just delicious. I like that color. The Van Dyke brown, ignore my ink blotch in the middle, is, you know, Van Dyke brown. And then the cobalt black, honestly, seeing that they had an ivory black, I would have much rather had the ivory black because it's PBK 7, and that means it wouldn't have been as opaque. Because it's cobalt, anytime you see cobalt, just plan on it being fairly opaque or close to it, depending on the pigments in it, like if they're mixes. But yeah, this is a pretty, you know, opaque black, and seeing that they had an ivory with PBK 7, I much rather would have had the PBK 7. I don't use black a ton anyway, so in all honesty, looking at this 34 set, which I did put in the Mijello pan set, I will probably end up, I'm going to leave the white. I don't tend to use it a ton just because it makes things chalkier. You know, and it's interesting because they do have a titanium white, which is more opaque than their Chinese white. Their Chinese white is supposed to be semi-transparent, which it is. My number came through and my lines. So I might try mixing it and making some lighter colors, but usually I prefer to just water down the color than use white, unless I'm actually going for more of a pastel color. And that brings me to the next point. I wanted to kind of lighten a few of these and show you guys, because I know there's big complaint about how bright and bold this palette is, but really if you lighten them up, these colors are going to transform just fine with water. So let me get a scratch piece of paper, watercolor paper, and then we'll test it out. Okay, I'm just using a Canson XL pad I have here. Oh, looks like I have swatches from my summer palette, but I just use this pad to kind of play with watercolors because it's affordable. So let's take Crimson Lake. I'm actually gonna write in my palette which one is which, because it's 34 colors, but number 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, that is this one here. I probably should change my water, but we're gonna be rebels. Hey, this palette doesn't bead too bad. It beads a little. It's brand new. Bulletproof glass and all. Glass. All right, we're gonna add a little more water to it. Green waters. This will be interesting. All right. Okay, so Again, I had swatched right out of the tube, so you have to keep that in mind. So here's the color just being wet. Now if I were to water down my brush, it's going to have a green tinge because my water is green. Water it down again. Water it down again. Now I see the green tinge coming through. But as you can see, you can keep lightening it up. Now if I did add a teensy bit of white, which I'm not a fan of, but let's just do it for science. That's at full tone. Yep, the green water's coming through. Gotta love that green water. There we go. See with the white there. So it's lightened it up. But again, this is going to have a different consistency now. It's going to be a little bit more opaque than the original Crimson Lake. See how it's nice and transparent here? It's going to be a lot more opaque here. But hey, I can always add a little more water to my brush and try and make it a little more transparent. But again, I like to just lighten up colors. But regardless, you can see how this is the color. I'm putting it on our palette and mixing a little water, and the reason I'm mixing water is just to get it going. But at each time I dip my brush in water and added more water to the mix, see how this becomes a very nice light pink. So it went from this color to this color, and once these dry, this is going to be even lighter. Now this is just with the white, but as you can see, it easily lightens up. So these colors being really bright and bold actually don't bother me. So just keep that in mind. Anytime you have a palette and it's very bold, ask yourself, okay, well, what's going to happen if I water it down? Because when I look at a color, I like to see the mass tone because I want to know what that true color is. But at the end of the day, I know I can always lighten a color. So I don't need to go buy a lighter pink. I have made a lighter pink. Look, as it dries, it's already lightening up. That's a beautiful, nice light pink color. We could do the same thing with, what's another one that's pretty crazy? Let's grab the dioxazine, which is right here. I'm just gonna get some water mixed in with it on my palette. And this palette doesn't bead too bad for being brand new. It beads, but not as bad as one would think. Okay, now that is dioxazine violet, all straight up. Now adding water, adding more water. I could play this game forever. Adding more water. Even more water. This one's going to take a little longer. It's a really dark color. More water. You could just get barely anything on the brush. In fact, I'll even do like a little rinse. I'm going to grab a very, very tiny, tiny, tiny amount. And see how we just keep lightening it with more water. Now it's a nice light purple. Look, I can even lighter, and that's dioxazine violet. It's all about how much, pigment to water you have. And again, these are coming straight out of the tube, so it's going to be major dark, highly pigmented, concentrated. But as my palette ends up drying and my paints start, drying and becoming something I have to reconstitute with water, my dioxazine violet is actually going to be more something like this when it comes out. So it won't be even that dark. And then I can just keep watering it down till I get there. And I can water this down even more. You could take a very tiny, tiny bit from your palette and mix it with loads of water on the palette and get a nice light color. Well, I'll just stick my finger in it and prove my point there. But see these, how they're already lightening up as they dry. So yeah, that's just a quick little lesson in evaluating colors. Is it super bright and bold? Sure, but it's not so bright and bold now. It's not so bright and bold here either. In fact, right here it's not either. So it's just about thinking about water and mixes and how you can neutralize it. So taking our bamboo green, for example, I mixed it with some green gold and just created that color. So bamboo green is now that with some green gold mixed in. Mixing is fun, so I highly recommend playing with a pure pigment palette simply because you are fully aware of what you're mixing for start. If you're taking a pre-made palette and you have mixes already in there and you go to mix more, you have to keep in mind what you're mixing with. Pure pigment is a lot more fun because you know, okay, my burnt sienna number 2 is pure 102 and I'm going to mix it with this. And it just makes it a lot more predictable. And it's just fun to play with your colors and mix them and make new colors. I might even use some spare space and pre-mix my own greens so I can be lazy. But overall, first impressions wise, I really like these pure pigment colors. I don't think they're too bold and bright. In fact, I think they are just right. Considering I do mostly florals, I'm loving these colors for florals. I've got loads of reds that are going to make the prettiest of pinks. Plenty of purple to work with, and I can make my own purple as well. Oh my gosh, I have so many reds and blues to make purples from. And then again, I can lighten these up, I can mix, I can neutralize. So I'm actually really enjoying this, and I'm almost happy that I have a palette that fits them all, because I have a full dedicated palette of these paints. Now, will I use this all the time? Probably not, because I am working on creating my studio palette, but it would still be nice to have this to play around with. And as always, I recommend buying the tubes, because while I've, squeezed out a little bit, squeeze, whatever, a little bit into my palette here, as you can see, I have full tubes left. So when I'm creating my other palette, my studio palette, I can squeeze a little bit in there. When I create my fall palette, I can squeeze a color I want in my fall palette, i.e. these two are for sure going in there. I can squeeze those in there, and I can even create my own mix and add it to my studio palette. So it's a lot of fun with this set. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun playing around with it. I'm definitely going to use it quite a bit while I'm working on building my studio palette. And it'll be nice to just have a whole Mission dedicated, brand specific palette hanging out in my studio. So yeah, let me know if you guys have the Mission Pure Pigment paints, what you think of them. Did you get them in tube or not? Did you get the whole 48? If you did, can you let me know if that Prussian blue is worth buying? I'm kind of curious. But overall, this is a fun set. Let me know if you'd like to see me do any painting with this set, if you happen to have it, or some mixes. We can definitely do some mixes. I am not going to make a full mixing chart with 34 colors. We will be here until 2023 if we do. So I can make a smaller version, maybe with like 5 colors. But thanks for hanging out with me while we experienced this set together. And until next time, everyone, take care. Bye now.